Well, for today's Friday video, we are going to be getting back into some canning. We are doing one of my favorite soups, which I can't believe I haven't shared with you guys yet. As you know, we are in the midst of a freezer challenge. And of course, the idea of the freezer challenge is to use old stock, not new stock, right? We're going to dive deep into our upstairs freezer here, and I'm going to see if I can find some beans because we need 5 cups of green, yellow, noodle beans, whatever beans we can find, hopefully the oldest ones. And we also need 5 cups of corn. We have pulled out some new 2025 beans. I know if I dig deep, there is some 2024 beans in here, maybe even some older, but let's not get too ambitious. I don't want to take everything out of here. We just want to get some out of here. So this has worked out fantastic. I only had to move a few things to the side here and bam, there they were, not even a full arm's reach in. I also found some older corn, which we need for this recipe, so I'm going to take that out at the same time. We're going to need a little bit more than a bag because it's 5 cups, so we'll see if we can find a bit more in here, but if not, I know I've got a partial, no, that's strawberries. I know I've got a partial downstairs, which I can bring up. So let's make a dent. This is what was coming out of the freezer. Although, one thing I did find in here, I had froze some pureed up garlic. So for our garlic for this recipe, rather than using the fresh stuff from 2025, I'm going to use this old 2024 garlic because I've been dying to get it out of the freezer and it stinks everything up. So let's use that. So all our ingredients are out. You can see here on the table, we have a little bit of prep work to do, but I have my big Lee Valley pot. I love this pot because it's basically 8 liters right to the top. And what I want to do is just make my 7 liters because that's how much my pressure canner holds, is 7 quart jars. So this is a really nice way for me to gauge if I'm going too big or not, because I don't really want leftovers because we got a whole bunch of other stuff planned. First thing we need to do, of course, is the part that takes the longest, is prep of all those vegetables. So with our onions, we need 5 cups chopped up. I like them to be a little bit chunky still because it just gives a bit of texture to the soup. It's like a chunky vegetable soup, right? And then you're going to get them into the pot with some olive oil and your garlic and fry that up. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to use this pre-frozen garlic. You need 5 cloves. I've got 3 in each one of these little squares. So we're going a little bit over on the garlic, but that's okay because we really like garlic. And this soup is very, very forgiving, to be honest. So fry that off, your garlic and onions, till the onions are just kind of starting to go opaque. And then we're going to put in the next set of ingredients. So what we want is 5 cups of carrots chopped up. Now, I could do these in the food processor, but because I like a nice chunky vegetable soup, my carrots as well as my 10 cups of potatoes are all done by hand. I am peeling everything because these are store-bought. Now, if it was homegrown, I probably wouldn't peel them, but we were not super successful with potatoes and carrots this year, so I'm going with store-bought while they're cheap and cheerful. And then lastly, what you're going to add to this is your 5 cups of corn and your 5 cups of beans. And then, of course, we need to get some liquid in here because this is all starting to stick to the bottom and we really need to be able to start turning and stirring. So we're going to put in those 2 liters of our chicken broth. Now, you saw those chicken broth were left over from the freezer challenge. We need to get these used up. I still have 2 more jars. We'll address that later. And 1 liter of homemade tomato juice. Now, this is just what I use. You could use vegetable broth. If you don't want to have the chicken product in here, you could use all tomato juice and make a tomato-based soup. I just like the kind of combination that I've come up with there. It also gives you the option if you want to add chicken to this, like chunks of chicken, you definitely could do so. We find that we eat this soup often for lunch, so I don't tend to load it up with meat. Just that broth gives enough of that flavor. But you do you. Either way, you're pressure canning this for an hour and a half. So whether you put meat or not, in my opinion, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Last stuff to go in here, of course, is our spices. And the wonderful thing about this soup is there really isn't a lot of spices. Well, there's that garlic, of course, which gives it a good zing. But you need 1 1/4 teaspoons of thyme, 5 teaspoons of salt, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of pepper. That's it. So that's everything in there. We're going to get this stirred and turned, and we want to just bring it to a boil, and then it's going into the jars. Now I know somebody is going to say to me, you could just put it in the jars in the first place and pressure can it, which I have seen many people do. It's just not the way that I've always done it or been taught. So I still stick with what the book tells me to do. Now you can see this pot is just about full, but I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to get the full 7 liters. Now, the reason for that being, I didn't trust my recipe, of course, because it's my own scribbles. I said 10 cups of potatoes, and I did a little over 8 because I didn't want to have surplus. I didn't want to have extra. So I've chopped up a few more potatoes just to bring this up to the amount of the 10 cups, which, as it turns out, is the right amount to get my 7 jars. Now, the other thing that I'm going to just talk about here for 1 second is, with this soup, you can add whatever spices you desire. As you saw, I put thyme, salt, and pepper into my soup along with that garlic. But the one thing I will say is I put in tomato juice that had seasoning. It was homemade, spunky tomato juice. It has celery, salt, and onion powder and things like that right in the juice. And I also had my homemade chicken broth, which I cook with garlic and onions and all that other good stuff right in that broth. So there's a lot of flavors going on here. So definitely, once you get this up to that boil, just taste a little bit of the broth and make sure it is how you would like it. It is a great soup, but you may want to throw a few more spices in there just to please your taste buds. All right, so this is a pressure canning recipe. So we're getting our 3 liters, this is our 3rd one, into the canner. And we're going to turn that on so that it starts to heat up, because you do not want your hot jars going into cold water. You run the risk of cracking. And believe me, been there, done that before, and it's not fun to have to clean up. And there's nothing worse than losing product, right? I mean, you put all this effort in. So we're going to get that going while our soup is just coming to its boil. The other thing you want to do, I flip this over, check that bit. I've already checked it to make sure that it is good and tight. The other thing you want to do is make sure you can see daylight through that little guy there, which I can. We're getting our gasket out, and we're going to just oil that up with a little bit of olive oil. Not too much. I just put a little drop on, whoops, that was a bit more than a drop on my hand. And just take it around there just so that it's nice and oiled. That just makes your gasket last a lot longer. I find it gives a really good seal, and I've used this probably hundreds of times now, and it is still in great shape. And as I mentioned in that last video, you got to watch for those little grooves there and make sure that's not on your vent hole. So make sure you turn it to the side just a little bit. And there we go. So our pressure canner is ready and waiting for our jars. We just need this soup to come to a boil, and we'll get it canned up. Our soup is just starting to boil. Our lids have come to their heat and are drained, ready to be put on these jars. It is go time. We are going to can this up. I'm using 1 quart jars. You want to leave an inch of headspace, finger tight on those lids. Don't crank them in there. You just want to finger tight. Into the pressure canner it goes. Hopefully we get our full 7 jars. I think we're going to be there. And then into the pressure canner it goes. 10 pounds pressure for 90 minutes. You want to start counting that time once it gets to the 10-pound pressure. Wait until the little vent comes up and locks shut before putting your little weight on your steam hole, and away we go. It is that easy. No fear with the pressure canning. We'll bring you back when we get these out, and hopefully they all seal. Another great day restocking the pantry, getting some canning done, things taken out of the freezer. So many boxes ticked. And look at this gorgeous soup. I mean, it is wonderful. Now, unfortunately, we did not get as many jars as I would have liked. As you can see here, we had a bit of an explosion in the pressure canner. Never actually had that happen before. I'm guessing that I just did not get the ring on properly, or the ring could have been a dud. I'm using some really old ones, and maybe it just didn't work well. One loss, but you know what? I'm going to operate on the theory I can still use what was in it, because no glass was broken. It just bubbled over. It's not like it filled with water or anything really. I mean, it's pressure canned or still, so it's got to be all right. So we're just going to have it with a soup. We're going to just make it into lunch. All in all, 6 jars finished up going into the pantry. And hopefully we will get another round of this done. I won't bore you with all the details, but we'll get another round done with those last 2 jars of our chicken broth and get on to the next project. So hope you enjoyed the recipe. Definitely make sure you check out the freezer challenge video coming on Sunday, and stay tuned next week as we get up to a whole bunch more cooking.